welcome back. Class is in session for now, but next week it'll be spring break. So, hey, who's up for some hockey talk? Alongside Colby Kephart, Connor Keith, I'm Nick Lanciani. You're listening to the Down the Frozen River podcast. This week it's the 2016 NHL Trade Deadline recap and a little outlook to the World Cup of Hockey, which is happening in September. I know Colby's wicked excited for that. Wicked. Anyway, sorry, Seth Meyers' thing was funny. Saw it weeks ago. That's irrelevant. Let's get right into it. What was your overall impression of the trade deadline this year? We'll start with Connor, since he seems to be opposed to trade deadlines in any sport.
Well, it's not so much I'm opposed to trade deadlines. I don't know. Because
The essence of trading.
See, yeah. And it's not so much that I'm against trades. It's not so much that I don't understand trades. It's just that, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me because, I don't know. Just as a fan, I get too attached to our guys. Even if it's like the guy you dislike. Well, actually, that's a lie. If somebody traded away, like, if the Hornets traded Spencer Hawes before the deadline, I would have had a good time. But, like, for overall, for the most part, like, I like my guys, and if we're having a successful year, I want to keep them around. But obviously, you're looking to make that push. All that being said, I think that this year the trade deadline was definitely a letdown. I think that's pretty safe to say. I think, Colby, you counted them up. What was it, 18? 19 trades this year. And really, there was, we'll call it 2, 3 really big ones. The rest of them really wasn't a lot going on there.
So would you say you're more of a, to backtrack a moment, more of a build in the offseason type of front office member?
I think so. Regardless of sport, too.
See, to me that just means you don't read into the rumors. And I think I got caught up too much this year in the rumors. All the speculation. Like, I was way too excited for this and very let down. However, it's weird because I remember when the Sabres used to be a team who was always trying to make the push for the playoffs. So I remember them bringing guys in, and I'm excited to watch these guys try to make an impact. I like watching players trying to find their way into a team. I like watching that. So I've always liked the trade deadline because you always get that one person who comes in and is like, I'm here to try to make a difference. I remember a few years ago we brought in Brad Boyes. His first 2 games, he had 2 goals. Like, that was exciting for me. He didn't really amount to anything after that, but
yeah, whether or not they stick around is the question. But in the immediate impact, that they want to be part of the team and do something.
Yeah, I just enjoy it. It's been a little different. Obviously, the Sabres the past few years have been always sellers, so I haven't really had anything to get much excited for except the draft. But that's not anything to get that excited about.
And it's funny, you say Brad Boyes, I thought of Steve Monador, a couple other guys, and
Yeah.
Shane Knighty, although that was before the deadline. Just similar type players where their careers aren't doing much, but they get that move right around the deadline, and then they start doing something.
Yep.
Whether it means a long playoff run or not.
Craig Rive was a good example. He left the Canadiens and came to us, and at the time we weren't really looking to make a playoff push. He eventually became pretty important to our organization and was considered one of our top defensemen for a little bit there.
So to just recap Leap Day, February 29th, 2016, the NHL Trade Deadline began kind of
Slow?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised necessarily when it came to there were no trades by the first couple hours I was awake that day, but I was a little surprised that the first deal was at 9:30 or thereabouts. When the Arizona Coyotes and the Pittsburgh Penguins made the first deal of the day, Sergei Plotnikov went from Pittsburgh to Arizona for a prospect
By
and a
walking
couple,
across the hall to
and a draft pick.
Yeah. Which I did find that interesting that there was 2 trades between Arizona and Pittsburgh. It's like, we're close. Let's deal with each other. We're right in the same building right now.
To me, I guess the fan in me was like, all right, we got the first one out. Now they're just going to start falling like rain. Let's go. Let's start making them happen. And then we wait. And we wait. And we wait.
Yeah, the usual flow, it seems like there's always those first 2 or 3 that are made, and then there's one, and then another one, then there's a little break around lunchtime for all the teams in the league, because general managers like to have their food and stuff. Or as, Duncan Keith would probably put it, fruit and crap. But anyway, later in the day, you get those, you're rushing the last couple hours, and then the hour or 2 after the deadline actually passes, you still have the backup of trade calls that are pending, whether they got them before the deadline or after the deadline, that the league has to say yes, no, maybe.
You can read more about it in my article coming later this week. But I found it funny that Tim Murray described it as all the GMs being a bunch of high schoolers. They waited until the deadline was due to try to get their homework done, and it was like it's accurate. He the final hour in Buffalo, he said the phone was never put down because someone was always on the other line waiting.
It reminded me of one of those bike races during the Olympics in the velodromes, where they all stand around at the top of the track, or NASCAR qualifying, and they all wait to see who's going out, and they all try to jump in at once.
It was just, it's ridiculous, and I don't know how a league fixed something like that, but maybe the GM's got it by not getting some deals done, that maybe we should start doing this a little earlier.
Yeah, I'm wondering how that would work in your world, but yeah.
I'm just thinking, I feel like a lot of teams were waiting for the big piece to fall in place. Was Louis Eriksson gonna get an extension, or is he available?
I think that was part of the problem. Everybody was just trying to feel each other out, and once they realized we've only got half an hour and this thing's not happening, you run out. You're not gonna get a trade done.
Louis was one. Drouin's another one.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of teams were in on Drouin. So
Drouin, I still feel, my gut feeling is that they weren't going to be able to move him regardless of whatever was happening, the climate around the trade deadline. But it might have been James Myrtle who tweeted something along the lines of kind of wishing that the league, similar to how the free agency period now begins, where you have that week of negotiation between teams and anyone, knowing that, okay, you can't make a formal offer, but you can talk about maybe signing with this team or that team. If they would do that similar to the trade deadline, because we know there's always a few big moves 2 or 3 weeks before the deadline itself. But if they spent the week before that and teams talked about trades, didn't commit to anything, or were forced not to commit to something until the deadline because of some, roster freeze, something.
So you want basically a transfer window.
Yeah, that's what he's looking for, kind of. But at the same time, that would never happen, because if you're looking 3 weeks ahead, then
you might as well make it 3 weeks.
No, because then you're having teams like Vancouver falling out. Vancouver's now right around 10 points out.
No, they're over. It's way more than that. It's 17 now.
Is it?
I think so. I'll double check.
They're way out of a playoff position. So maybe 3 weeks they're like, no, we're not selling. But then as we get closer, well, maybe we should sell. Maybe the season is over.
Yeah, believe me, I read it and I was like, oh, I never really thought about that. But I don't think that's the way hockey is. The nature of the sport in all its history, almost 100 years, has been, at least in the National Hockey League. We know hockey's been around longer. Come on, people. Hockey homework history, National Hockey Association was the predecessor to the National Hockey League. There you go, learn something new. But the nature of the sport, from the front office executives, just seems to be that you build your team, you kind of manage it, you figure something out before the deadline if you can, and then the deadline's your day. And there's no kind of, well, let's wait and see, or let's decide now, or let's decide later. Second trade of the day, if you recall, only really mentioning this because it made us, as Charlotte Checkers fans, maybe have a moment of going, oh no, what's going to happen now? The Carolina Hurricanes trade Drew McIntyre, a goaltender in Charlotte, to the Chicago Blackhawks in exchange for Dennis Robertson, who's a defenseman. Robertson returning to the Checkers, but McIntyre, we've seen him in action, and it's been, well, how would you say McIntyre plays?
I wouldn't say he's horrible, but a
7-4 victory that we saw earlier in the year wasn't bad.
Yeah,
because it was a 6-goal comeback in the third.
Yeah, but that was him coming in relief of the other guy.
Exactly.
But the Checkers needed to do something. They needed to change it up. Talking to the one intern they have, they had dropped 10 straight games or something around that number in a row. So you got to look for a change, and I think that's what they were going for there.
Later in the day, the Checkers acquired from the Texas Stars John Muse. Just throwing it out there, we love Musey. He's
you do.
Well, I do, and that might only be because of my love affair with Boston College hockey. But anyway, the big deal that came out of the early morning, early afternoon on the deadline was the Michael Boedker trade. Boedker went from the Arizona Coyotes to the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for Alex Tanguay, Connor Bleakley, and Kyle Wood. The latter two guys mostly being prospects, Tanguay being an older veteran, going to the Coyotes. How does this work out, in your opinion, Colby? I mean, we have Boedker going to Colorado. That provides some strength. But knowing that the Coyotes might be in a better chance of making a run for it, based on their season.
Mm-mm. Coyotes kind of fell out at this point. They're dropping dramatically. I'm a little confused on why Tanguay was part of this deal. I'm thinking it's cap space. I think it's based off that. Boddicker could be a nice fit. I think I read rumors he was going to be playing with McKinnon. I haven't had a chance to catch one of their games yet, but he has the potential to score goals. If you were in the playoff a few years ago when they made it, he actually put up a few goals, a few important goals. That is.
Pending free agent at the end of the season, though.
Yes, and that is one of the names I have circled for my free agents that could be interesting wherever he lands.
You know, this trade, for a moment, it made me think of the previous past years, whatever deadline it was. The Avs traded Wojtek Wolski to the Arizona Coyotes for Peter Mueller. At the time, both of those guys were kind of big on their team and had been with their respective franchises for a little while. So it kind of got me thinking back to that nostalgic moment for a moment. But then again, it is entirely different. You have Bodker being actually good, depending on who you ask, and Tanguay being at the tail end of his career.
It's surprising because didn't Tanguay score in their Stadium Series game?
He did.
So to me, it's like, okay, he just scored in your
and
big game of the
season,
and now you're going to trade him away. Like I said, I think it was a cap move sending Tanguay the other way. I bet you if they had money, they would have kept him and probably thrown a pick in there. But like I said, he had to go the other direction. It'll be interesting to see what he can do with another old man over there with Shane Doan. But
potential Shane Doan retirement party plans. I mean,
I don't
is he on the committee now? Speaking of Wojtek Wolski and Peter Mueller, I wonder what those guys are up to, by the way. And we know Mueller's been injured and had those things going on. Wojtek Wolski bounced around the league, then he's off in whatever league.
Didn't he have a decent run with the Rangers at one point?
He did. You know, he researched and everyone was like, Wolski's back with an awesome name because everything's a W, but it's pronounced Wojtek Wolski. Gotta love, W's are V's. What was your next biggest trade in your analytical deals?
All right. So if you could argue probably this was the biggest trade of the day, and I'm going Chris Russell to Dallas. First of all, I thought it was a big return, and a lot of people wrote speculation they had to match what Dallas did. Dallas went out match what Chicago did. Sorry. And Chicago went out and landed Andrew Ladd. So they had to counter and bring in a big player of their own. So they went for Chris Russell, which was arguably probably second or third biggest defenseman on the market at the time. But I think they overpaid. I mean, they gave up some prospects there. I believe it was a second-round pick. To me, it's very surprising. But he could be a good fit there. I think they're going to be looking for some help once it comes playoff time defensively.
Do you see Russell as a rental in Dallas?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't think he's that good of a defenseman. I think he's good in the sense that at 28, right about the prime of defense, everything's going solid for him this year, but consistently has he proven that he can be a top 4 kind of guy?
Isn't he block shots?
Yeah.
Isn't that what he's one of his top stats?
Yeah, we're going to delve into Fantasy League for 2 seconds, but yeah, that's how I built my defense, and when he's healthy, which, that's kind of the risk you run with such a shot blocker, but as he was down for, 2-3 weeks there for a while, just for blocking a shot, but yeah, that's kind of what he does. It's his main claim to fame out there, because he's really only puts up, I don't even know how many goals he has. It's not many.
To me, he's a good puck moving defenseman. If you remember Calgary in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, it was last year. You're not dreaming or anything.
Yeah.
Based on the year.
He was one of the better defensemen. Him and TJ Brody kind of helped the team and pushed them along a little bit and get them a few games that they won.
So, we know that is a bigger deal of them all. But in terms of kind of future impact, the Bruins traded for John Michael Lyles of the Carolina Hurricanes. They gave up a 3rd-round pick in the 2016 NHL entry draft, 5th-round pick in the 2017 NHL entry draft, and a prospect, Anthony Kamara. Looking down the road, who won this trade?
It's hard to say right now. The Bruins needed defensive help, and I think they were willing to go at any lengths to get it. So to me, it's like
I wouldn't mind if they re-signed Lyles.
To me, I think you have to because if you can get him on a cheap contract, I think you have to because
if
you
they can
paid a
move
lot
Seidenberg for something younger and then keep Lyles, they might be okay as they continue to transition on the blue line.
It's just to me like you better hope Lyles can develop someone like Colin Miller. I think that's where you kind of bring him into hope. I would say you can't really use Char to develop Colin Miller just because the height difference, the reach, their game's way different. So I think that's where you're kind of doing it. You're trying to develop your younger players, Morrow, whoever else you have there. But I still think you overpaid. I could see one of those picks in the prospect, but both the picks and the prospect, I don't know. I think that's a little much.
You know, it might be fun to talk about draft picks and the Bruins on trade deadline for a moment, because Cam Neely has since come out and talked about trying to trade Louis Eriksson and said that none of the offers include a first-round pick. Every team was throwing around second-round picks. So that was a turnoff for him.
But that's the thing is that's what this is becoming. Everyone wants their first-round pick. With this lottery system, you can hop to anywhere. Mm-hmm. And, I mean...
I don't think it's necessarily built in, the lottery system ideology. I think it's a first-round pick that's highly valuable in the NHL draft compared to a 7th rounder or 4th rounder.
I just think it's interesting.
Or just a prospect or something.
Teams like Chicago, I'll throw LA out there. I'm not too 100% sure on LA, but they're not worried about throwing out their first round pick because they're like, we're Stanley
Cup. They build
Cup.
in other ways.
Right. We have a solid team. We don't need to bring in another young kid.
For some teams, first round pick is currency for the immediate. If you're Chicago, you get rid of it. You use it to get an asset. If you're another team, you get it now. So in June, you can use it either on a player or in a trade, because we all know that the real NHL trade deadline is the NHL entry draft. That's when you see some of the bigger deals. You don't see them nearly as many numbers, but that's when you see some teams really go all out and say, we didn't do what we nearly wanted to do last season, but we want to do this next season.
It became a national holiday for Buffalo. Last year's draft. I mean, it was
national holiday just for Buffalo. I'm intrigued by a national holiday for.
Okay,
so is it a local holiday?
It's a local holiday for Buffalo. Sorry, guys, but just what Murray did at the last draft, it was big for us. We were a huge fan of it, and I guess that's kind of why I was excited for the deadline this year because we have a general manager who's not afraid to pull a trigger on a trade. Who's not like, well, what is the media effect, blah, blah. He was like, you know what, that's a good trade for us, pull on it.
Well, given the product on the ice, I mean, at this point, pull any trade to see what might end up working.
Yeah.
Not that the Sabres are actually that bad of a team. We've seen moments of brilliance. I mean, would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, and like I said, we're growing.
How many years away are they, though, from not being like Toronto?
Spot or actually...
Well, from
being relevant in the playoffs.
From being unlike Toronto or Edmonton currently, or from the last decade, where they really haven't done much.
I guess, I'm not going to try to make excuses for this season, but right now, Jack's learning to play the number one center role with Ryan O'Reilly being out, and I think this is good for him. He went through a point of frustration. As this being Thursday night, he just scored tonight. So maybe that frustration will break a little bit, but it's good that they're getting somewhere, and like I said, I still think we're a scoring winger away. Murray's doing a lot of work with Molson to try to get him back.
So to recap, or to summarize, growing pains, couple of assets to be added. Sabres aren't that far away, people. Talking about chemistry for a moment before we talk about the Sabres again. Chemistry-wise, Lee Stempniak got dealt from the New Jersey Devils to the Boston Bruins. Fits in on the line with Patrice Bergeron and Brad Marchand. I know you are on the fence with this deal. I mean,
I wouldn't say I'm on the fence with this deal. I mean, if you go back to, you tried to offer him a PTO. He decided he wanted to take his PTO with the Devils. And then you end up giving him 2 picks for the guy that you wanted as a PTO.
Could have signed him back in whenever.
Yeah.
I mean, fun fact, I was playing NHL 16 tonight, and I signed Lee Stempniak for only around $1.4 million. Now, I know it's fake money. I know it's just a video game, but...
Yeah, okay.
I can put that in my resume, can't I?
But he's had a surprisingly strong season. Mm-hmm. Racking up the assists. He was the assist leader in New Jersey. and then comes to
There's a scoring leader, period, for a couple of days there.
Comes to Boston, finds some good chemistry. Yet again, this being Thursday, picked up two assists tonight, is from what I read from the score sheet. I think, like I said, at the time I thought you overpaid, but I think this move could have good potential if that chemistry can keep up.
This has the appearance on the outskirts for Don Sweeney as general manager for the Bruins to maybe be his Mark Recchi moment, if you ask me. Because if you go back to the 2009 trade deadline, Peter Chiarelli dealt Martins Carsoms and another piece of that deal. I can't remember. I don't know why I'm blanking out on it. For Mark Recchi. Recchi fit in with Bergeron immediately. This was before Brad Marchand even really existed in the hockey world. But it was that chemistry on that line with Bergeron. Bergeron, Recchi, and whoever they threw on that line, it worked.
It's a tan. Was that
Well, that was 2010,
Oh,
but
sorry.
the next season still kind of works out that way because Recchi was still part of it.
So, but
If Stepniak can play consistently and stick around a little bit, then there's a good chance that you have another type of Bergeron, Marchand, Recchi line for the Bruins that was successful in the 2010-2011 season, mirroring now perhaps.
it'll be interesting because you guys let's face it, at this point you have to pay Louis. You have to give him his extension. So
And
depends.
it's not like the Bruins don't have cap room for it. They have plenty of space to still get a deal with Louis Eriksson.
But that's the thing is, with Stempniak's season, he's going to want more than just a $1 million contract now. So a lot of people are saying, well, with the way Stempniak's playing, someone's gonna offer him a contract, and I think he deserves it. I think he has the ability to be a strong scorer again in this league. So.
In all honesty, though, there's going to be at least $5 million coming off the books for the Bruins going into the next season. Because Chris Kelly, $3 million cap hit, probably not going to return. Milan Lucic's retained salary from the Lucic deal, that's going to be off the books.
Yeah, and I mean those are all positives, but you also have to pay Krug. Isn't this his RFA year?
Exactly. Therein lies the $1 million question, the $64,000 question if you want to play that old school trivia game.
You have to think about what he's gonna get. I mean, right now, if you've been looking at the deals for defensemen, we're talking like Ole Mata. He just got a decent deal. We're still trying to figure out Ristolainen's deal. So Krug could be, I think, in between there, as Ristolainen's going forward as our number one defenseman. Where I don't see Torrey Krug being your number one defenseman.
A few more trades to talk about. Going back to the Sabres, Jamie McGinn was dealt to the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for a conditional third-round pick in the 2016 NHL entry draft. Aside from the Chris Russell deal, was this perhaps the biggest trade of the day?
I wouldn't say it's the biggest trade.
Well, there wasn't much to pick from, so...
Also true.
I think the Boddicker
Most
trade
impact?
could be bigger. I do like how McGinn. I learned after he scored last night that he slid right into being the third highest scorer on the team. I thought that was mind blowing because they're a team in the playoff position, and McGinn was lower on our list. So I thought it was pretty strange, but he's a gritty guy, and I think that's what you want in the playoffs. He's not afraid to stand in front and find the way to put the goals in.
Ottawa Senators have been building their past seasons of success or whatever they've had in the last 5 seasons on a youth movement. They sent Shane Prince to the New York Islanders and a 7th-round pick for a 3rd-round pick in the 2016 NHL entry draft. Care to touch on that a moment?
This one, I'm a little confused because if you remember about a month, maybe a little over a month ago, Prince was scoring. Prince was a new guy on the market. He was putting in goals. Not really sure why they were so adamant about moving him. Maybe there's something I don't know. I'm not sure of his contract situation, but I thought it was a little surprising. But they were looking to move him. I think they got what they were looking for him, and I'd love to see him
Got a little more than what they were looking. I mean, they were talking about Prince or Weirkoch going for a 4th or 5th-round pick, and they got a 3rd for Prince.
Yeah, I'd like to see him. I don't know, fit into the team. I think he has the ability to score, and if you have the ability to score in this league, I mean, even if it's at a 3rd or 4th line level, I think you got to put him out there. I think you got to let him work. He's a small little kid who will work his butt off.
And if you want to talk every year, the Islanders always seem to be talking about moving Okposo or doing something with Okposo. Now, also just interesting to note for the Ottawa Senators fans out there, they were talking about moving Weirkoch. Well, they didn't And it seems like that was probably a good idea because Borowiecki tonight injured himself making a hit. So, props to you, Ottawa, for not trading Patrick Burakovich, at least just yet. Some smaller deals that might have gone under the radar. Brandon Peary, sent to the Anaheim Ducks from the Florida Panthers. Your gut feeling on this one, Colby, is that...
I think he's a rental. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with him. He is a goal scorer. I'm not 100% sure on his numbers, but I read something like he had like 22 goals and only 2 assists. So yeah, it says that he's not really a pass-first dude, but you know what? On a team like the Sabres, when we have Jack Eichel pass first, Sam Reinhart pass first, and Ryan O'Reilly pass first, arguably, well, we need someone who's going to be there and actually score. We were hoping Evander would do that, and he's kind of fallen out a little bit.
And as the deadline deals started winding down in the clock of the day, the Ducks started picking up action. They sent Patrick Maroon to the Edmonton Oilers in exchange for, defensive prospect and whatever. But I want to just get to the point that Maroon, helpful to the Ducks in the playoffs last year, not nearly as helpful as Bolesky was. But the Ducks fans probably freaked out a little bit for a moment, but they got Peary. How's your evaluation? How does this all weigh out for the Ducks? How does it weigh out for the Oilers?
Well, I think so if I'm looking at the roster, I'm thinking I'm sliding Peary on the second line just for the fact he's a goal scorer. You have Maroon, who can easily be replaced by, in my opinion, a better Jamie McGinn. They're kind of same gritty player, like stand in the front and has the ability to score goals, but I think McGinn's production is at a higher rate this year. I may be mistaken. I'm not going to say I'm an expert on Patrick Maroon, but I just think McGinn would be a better fit than Maroon. Really surprised in the deal, though. I think Maroon liked being in Anaheim.
And I got one more for you that might have gone under a lot of people's radars. Nicholas Backstrom. Washington fans, don't worry. We're talking about the Minnesota Wild's goaltender, Nicholas Backstrom. And a 6th-round pick in the 2016 draft went to the Calgary Flames in exchange for David Jones. Colby's a fan of this trade. Why is that?
I'm a fan of this trade because Calgary's goaltending situation, it's atrocious.
Brandon Backstrom's always injured, too.
I understand he's always injured, but, I mean, you got to be looking at these numbers of these players lately. Before the game tonight against Sabres, I read his past 10 games was like a .8 something save percentage. That is atrocious for an NHL goalie. Do you have anything to add on that?
Also in the twilight of his career.
It's exactly the same thing you've been saying. I mean, Calgary's goaltending, they're willing to do anything they can right now. If they're allowed to put 2 defensemen out there, just stand in the crease, and just fill up as many holes as possible. I mean, it's just been Swiss cheese in net for them, so they're willing to try anything.
There's still a couple unrestricted free agents out there that the Flames could sign if they wanted to. Michael Ryder, if anyone remembers his glove save in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure if you just give him some goaltending pads, that would work. And if they want someone with deck hockey experience in net, there's always me, of course. Just saying.
If you want to talk about the return, David Jones to Minnesota, he might be a little useful. 3rd, 4th liner who can put some pucks in the net. Minnesota's obviously looking to try to push some playoff, and I think they still have a lead over Colorado.
Yes.
So I think they're going to try to hold off Colorado for that last playoff spot.
And now, rapid fire. Knowing that we're going to talk more and more about the World Cup of Hockey as it gets nearer, the rosters were announced on March 2nd, which was, let's see what day, Wednesday. We have some expectations, we have some jerseys that we like and we don't like. We'll have more on that in the next week. But I heard on Sportsnet earlier, they were talking of General Manager of Team Europe, Miroslav Shatan. You mentioned him earlier. This was funny that you mentioned it because now we're talking about him. They're talking about the chemistry of Team Europe. You have guys from all over, you have guys from all over in the league and whatnot. How is that going to work out? Is it a good idea to have a collective group of people that's never been done before in any international play?
I think it's silly, but I think if it's someone like Anze Kopitar, he's kind of happy. Let's face it.
They're not going to have Slovenia.
It's Kopitar and whoever versus the other team, because that's all Slovenia revolves around.
Their biggest piece right there is Kopitar.
So I think chemistry could be an issue, but they're NHL players, most of them.
Right.
So
They're
I think,
professional.
yeah, I
We'll
think
give them the benefit of the
I
doubt.
think they'll be able to handle it. Don't get me wrong, I still don't think they're going very far. No offense. There's just
I
some.
mean, they have like the oldest defense, if you've seen it. They have Zdeno Chara, they have Dennis Seidenberg, a couple other guys on there.
They
a lot of
just-
things are concerning because they didn't have much to pick from.
Yeah, there's a lot of superpowers in this tournament. I mean, Sweden, Canada, USA. I'm sorry,
It's almost built against them.
yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Canada and the USA, they're both in North America, right? There's a Team North America for the 23-year-olds and younger.
Is to include the Mexican players.
Team North America, what's their biggest problem? Let's see, goaltending.
Yeah,
Who's their number one goaltender?
I don't know. Personally, I want to see it to be Connor Hellebuck. I don't think it's going to be.
Tom Gibson?
Yeah, it'll probably end up being Gibson, but Connor, I mean, Matt Murray, you think he's got a potential to be number one?
I mean, potential, but I don't know. It's a wild card to me. I don't know.
See, we know Team North America, they have young skaters as forwards that can score. They have, they got everything they need there to go up against the rest of the
They're still
powers of the
inexperienced.
league. They're inexperienced, but as a team, I think there's a chance that they can work together. Chemistry will work out. Defense might be an issue, but their biggest problem's going to be with goaltending.
I think their power play unit could be fun. You're putting Connor McDavid and Jack Eichel on the same power play unit. Could you imagine what that's going to look like?
Could you imagine what 3-on-3 overtime might look like if
We just
this
go,
tournament has
we're
that?
going 3 forwards.
We'll just go with McDavid, Eichel, and if you were Edmonton or Buffalo last year, why didn't you try to get another first-round pick? Just throwing it out there. Austin Matthews, of course, not named to the initial roster, but there's a chance he could be added to the team.
I think he will. It's kind of hard not to. He's young, and I think it would actually build a little more experience with him. We understand he's overplaying with the professionals overseas, but I think it would be nice to have him get a taste of NHL talent, and I think that could be a nice fit for him.
As an aside, their jerseys make Kylo Ren a bit jealous because they're very First Order-esque.
See,
If you're a Star Wars Episode 7 fan.
I disagree. I think they're trying to be the New York Knicks, and at this point, like as me and Connor said, why are you trying to be the New York Knicks? They haven't figured anything out.
Also true. Team USA. Is this a better roster in the 2014 Sochi Olympics? And is Patrick Kane an international star? We know he can play well in the NHL, but has that success transitioned to an international level in this type of tournament?
I hope so.
Clarify.
I mean, I think for our sake, we always want to see USA do well. So at this point, you're looking up and down the roster, and you're like, Patrick Kane, please be the star of our team. But if he's not there, I mean, it's different when you're playing with Duncan Keith and Seabrook and Hjalmarsson behind you. So it could be interesting, but I hope he emerges. I hope he continues his amazing season that he has going here.
We know some of our Canadian fans might be wondering, who's still left to make the roster? June 1st is the next day that more players will be announced. But left off Team Canada right now, Brad Marchand, PK Subban, Brent Burns, Ryan O'Reilly, if you want to talk guys that always seem to be in international tournaments, Joe Thornton, Milan Lucic has had his name thrown around in the past. Who might make Team Canada?
I think it's ridiculous that Burns wasn't named in the first one. You're going to take his teammate Vlasic, which, don't get me wrong, he can be a decent defender.
It's a Vlasic Bickle.
But he's not Burns. Brent Burns is probably the heart and soul of the San Jose team.
He's definitely got the hair.
You may disagree, but this man is solid, and I think he should have been named.
Also, Brad Marchand in the midst of a career year, and then not name him to a team?
Yeah, and we were talking about this. You're kind of looking for defensive help, and I mean, Brad Marchand, the amount of shorthanded goals he has this year, on a penalty kill, this is maybe something you really need someone. That's why I threw Ryan O'Reilly's name around. Ryan O'Reilly's a defensive center.
Plays similar to Patrice Bergeron,
Yeah.
who is on the team.
Yeah, so
Doesn't hurt to have two of those guys.
yeah, you're gonna need some penalty killers, and they named. I mean, Bergeron arguably would be one of them, but other than that, they were all like the power scorers and everything. So it'll be interesting to see what their penalty kill looks like. Maybe that could be a weak spot of Team Canada. Is get them to take penalties and light them up on the penalty kill.
Now, taking a look at Russia, we know their goaltenders Semyon Varlamov, Andrei Vasilevsky, and Sergei Bobrovsky. We know that this might be who's their number one guy. We also know that their defense is perhaps a bit lackluster. Who wants this one?
We'll give it to Connor.
I mean, we can. I mean, obviously we got. You assume Ovechkin probably will make the trip up there, and then as the Blues fan, also Vladimir Tarasenko. I mean, these guys have got offense for days. We were also discussing though that is that all they're planning on playing because the defense listing isn't terribly deep.
Markov. I mean, what is he like 45 now?
So
close,
so
really close.
Russia's game plan is to have a
estimation.
blitzkrieg sort of scenario going on and see if they can get up 5 goals before anybody thinks twice and see what they can do after that.
Their goalie's going to play at center ice. Just so they put the full court press on.
Their goalie's Alexander Ovechkin.
I heard the Detroit Red Wings disagree in this statement. Offense wins championships. No, they strike that out. Defense wins championships. But Russia is Russia, and we tend to notice that they're pretty good at playing
Usually.
offensive game.
As long as they don't end TJ Oshie.
You go
I
back
am
to the
interested.
70s and the Soviets.
I think we threw around too. We are interested in Artemi Panarin, getting the plug up to the senior squad for that one. He's only a rookie. I mean, a good rookie. I think that's pretty safe to say, but only a rookie. So we'll see how that all pans out when he starts playing internationally.
Well, I was wondering if Team USA can draft him so we can put him with Kane and maybe we'll be successful.
Holy smokes! Get that boy naturalized.
That doesn't work?
Well, first of all, it wouldn't work because if they're 23 or under, they automatically go to Team North America or Team Europe.
Well, fake his birth certificate. Stop being so logistical right now.
China did that in the Olympics. It's easy.
Hey, speaking of logistics, Ilya Kovalchuk, what's the chance that he'll get an invite?
Not good if this fiasco that's happening over in Russia right now is true. I mean, there's a lot of speculation.
Or the fact that his contract circumvented the previous CBA and all that jazz. And still issues of if he wants to come back.
Yeah.
That's going to be our running joke for the next however many podcasts. Is we're going to reference Ilya Kovalchuk in every episode. Sweden appears to be a powerhouse. If you look at their roster, they have strength in numbers.
I think they're my favorite to win it. I'm sorry.
So is that what to expect from Team Sweden? Because that was going to be my question. What to expect from these guys?
I think if they don't make it... I'm not 100% sure how the World Cup works. We got medal rounds?
Well, I have to review the tape from, let's see.
I mean, it's been 14 years?
2012
years? So 12 years?
12 years.
So, I think they have to make the semis if we want to just leave it there.
They have a history of great jerseys, by the way, for all the teams in the World Cup of hockey. I've actually looked that stuff up online. It's a fun time.
Like I said, I think they have to make the semis. I think anything less than that is a letdown.
Mm-hmm. I mean, obviously starting to net with Lundqvist. We're big fans of OEL around here. Victor Hedman's always playing great game. Marlson.
Carlson?
I'm out. No.
He's thinking of Jallarmison.
Yes,
Joel
I
Marcin.
can't speak right now. But Carlson is also on that. I mean, it just keeps going and going. And Forsberg, Louis Eriksson, it just keeps going. Nicholas Backstrom, the Sedin twins. It's the list is endless. So I mean, you guys are laughing at the Sedin twins being included, maybe, but
I'll
still.
agree that the top 4 teams are gonna probably be not in any specific order, but U.S., Canada, Russia, Sweden,
It's
like
cute
how
that you
everything
put the
works.
USA up there.
No. I'm eliminating USA and I'm putting North America.
Team North America.
It's going to be an interesting elimination round.
I'm kind of wondering how it's going to be if Team North America and USA and Canada. If Team North America plays USA or Canada and or both at all.
I can
that will
already tell
look
you
like.
which order I want those to finish in.
I'm just letting you know. I think Sweden's the most well-rounded from goaltender to forward. I think they're set. Personally, I don't even. They could probably win with the current team. They don't even need to add any more players.
Now let's take a look at a similar flag but different colors. Finland. The Finns. Goaltending is probably, they have the number 1 goaltending, if you may, in this entire tournament. You got Pekarinen, Tuukka Rask.
I don't know, man. Canada's kind of stacked. Carey Price and Holt be on the same team? I'm just throwing it out there.
And I don't know. I'm
Well,
hedging
actually,
my bets against Henry Lundqvist, too.
You just named 5 of the 5 elite goaltenders, but 2 of them are Finland, and
Well,
we don't know
we're
what to
going to
expect
see
from
how
Finland.
elite they are because their issue is defense.
Their issue is defense, but they have...
Which hasn't gone so hot for Tuukka Rask when his defense is Swiss cheese.
His defense doesn't exist in front of him.
That's what I'm saying. He's given up a lot of goals. What I'm
But
saying
Finland
is,
has a defense.
No, they don't.
They have more of a defense than Tuukka
Really,
Rask's defense.
Oli Mata, Rasmus Ristolainen, and Sami Vatanen, you'd want that in front of your team over Zdeno Chara,
But if
Torrey
you-
Krug.
Well, I didn't say that. But if you look at their offense, their forwards, they're young and experienced. They have a good mixture here of Leo Komarov, Teuvo Teravainen, and some of the other guys.
We talked about it a little before we started recording that Teravainen has to be the player to step up in my eyes. I want to see him shine. I think he has the ability to. I think we saw a little bit in the playoffs. I think he needs to be the one to shine. I think he kind of fell in Panarin's shadow, and I think he needs to rise up out of that or get out of Chicago. I'm sorry.
And if you want to talk about another short end of the stick, perhaps, teams, the Czech Republic. We know it will be the Dave and Dave show for the Czechs and a Vladimir Sobotka appearance. I'm excited for that. David Krejci, David Pastrnak kind of leading the charge with the rest of the forwards. Their defense, how's it going to stand up to others? Can it stand up, first of all? How old is their defense?
I think Europe will have a better defense than the Czech Republic. And that's saying something. Europe are all like 30 plus. This defense, I'm just question marks.
Yeah.
Who's your number one? Raiko Gudas? Mr. I'm going to throw a legal check
baseball?
every other hit.
Say Roman Polak. I mean, it's still though. It's our list is getting shorter by the minute.
Yeah, that raises a good question. How will suspensions work in the World Cup of Hockey?
Oh, because they're
Because
going to need
Gudas
to
is
know.
bound to get one.
They're going to need to know.
And for goaltenders, again, same type question with Team North America here for the Czechs. Who's your number one?
Oh, I have no idea.
Mrazek,
Peter
personally, I'm
Mrazek,
going for
Michael
Mrazek.
Neuwirth, Andre
Mostly because
Pavel.
I don't have time for Neuwirth getting injured again in the World Cup of Hockey.
I'd
Not
give it to
dealing with that.
Mrazek, but let's face it, the biggest question is Yager going to go?
I mean, he hasn't been named to the team yet.
He'll be chilling on
Yes,
the
but
beach.
he told them he was going to focus on Florida and not to name him in the first 16.
Well, I mean, that's his decision. If I were a player, this would not be a distraction at all to me. It'd be like, yeah, uniforms look sick, ready to go. But right now, we're focusing on getting the Stanley Cup playoffs. What are you talking about? World Cup of Hockey.
As you mentioned, the uniforms, if we want to use that as a transition.
Yeah, that's actually our segue, so go for it.
We're going to have an article coming out over this next week. Not sure what day yet. It'll come under my name, but it will be Hannah, my lovely girlfriend, writing a piece
Oh, she's your girlfriend.
Isn't that cute?
on the jerseys and the fashion of them and which ones she's liking, which ones she's not liking, which ones she's confused about. I really hope she agrees with me with the New York Knicks, but we'll see how it goes.
As long as she doesn't choose the Finland jersey as a good one, she's okay.
They're not that bad.
Like I
Okay, that's a nice story.
Well, anyway, the Adidas stripes didn't work their way prominently, prevalently, whatever. They're subtle. I find them okay. I don't think they should be on NHL jerseys, but World Cup of Hockey, do what you want.
If
See,
we're
now I
going to
think
talk
that's the
about
exact opposite.
my favorite jersey, a lot of people were saying that Canada won the best jersey.
I like the leaf on
I'm
their
Sweden.
sleeves.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I'm Sweden. I think those jerseys are awesome. That may be just me, but
Sweden's jerseys and anything are
It's
typical.
always a standby.
simple and
I like
Elegant.
Sweden's jersey.
USA's crest loses me. I can't stand that crest.
it kind of looks like an MLS crest from the
Which
90s.
is also the reason I don't like the Team USA crest for the soccer team.
Yeah,
It's a whole list of bad stuff.
talk about that
going
on your own time. We're out of time here. Anyway, spring break's next week, so we won't see you this same time, same place type of thing next week. But go ahead and schedule your calendars for 2 weeks from now. We'll return with the Down the Frozen River podcast right here on downthefrozenriver.com. For Colby Kephart, Connor Keith, I'm Nick Lanciani. Have a good spring break.